Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi, Horayos Daf Tes. We begin on Ches Amud Beis at the Mishnah, which is 12 lines off the bottom. Now, up until this point, when we spoke about the tzibur, the public, bringing a par, because they were misled by the Bezdin to violate an Avera, typically we spoke about a situation which, an Avera, which had a kares potential to it, if done, intentionally. And on the flip side, it would bring a chatos kavua, a fixed chatos, meaning if an ordinary person would do that avera, right? What type of carbon would he bring? He would bring a fixed a chatos, a kivsa, a seira, a standard carbon, a shigot, a sheep, to atone for his sin. So likewise, at tzibur, should they encounter that situation, they would bring, instead of a kivsa, a seira, which is meant for your ordinary person, they would bring a par, a special carbon. What if it's an avera, which has a different type of carbon to it? A carbon oile v'yored. So rather than a fixed value, a carbon has a fluctuating, flexible carbon, depending on the person's ability to afford. So the highest level would be an animal carbon. One level below would be a pair of birds, and below that, on the bottom, for the most impoverished, would be a mincha, a carbon mincha, some flour and oil, etc. So as we learned yesterday, the tzibur never would bring a par if there are violation related to these types of trigger points which typically trigger a carbon oil v'yored. So again, their carbon parhalam davar is specific, is limited to cases which have a regular chatas liability, as opposed to carbon oil v'yored. And likewise, a kohen Mashiach. He's a leader, the anointed kohen gadol. He follows the same system as the tzibur. He will not bring his par under these circumstances. Says the Mishnah, Ein chayavim, they're not liable to a carbon. If we're speaking about al shmias koil, for one who hears a voice, means to say he was a potential witness and he was approached by one of the Bali Dinim, one of the litigants, to come and offer testimony on his behalf. He turned down the offer with an oath, a false oath. This type of event would trigger a carbon oil v'yored. The tzibur is not liable to that, nor is the kohen Mashiach. Another example, valbitis v'sayim, violating an oath, valtumas mikdash gedoshav, being uncareful with the sanctity of the Beis Hamikdash, walking in while one's tummy, or eating karbanos in that state. So all these trigger a carbon oil v'yored, which the tzibur is exempt from. And just like the tzibur and the Mashiach, the nasi as well, the king, would not bring a carbon oil v'yored. So according to him, it's XXX. Tzibur no, Mashiach no, nasi no. Rabbi Akiva Omer, hanasi chay b'kulam. According to Rabbi Akiva, a nasi is meant to bring a carbon oil v'yored, except chutz mishmias koil, except for the first fellow who refused to testify, because a king, in any case, cannot testify. As the halacha, shamelach, a king is exempt from all judicial, proceedings. Lo don, he doesn't participate in a din Torah. He doesn't serve as a judge. V'lo don and nor do we judge him. Lo made, nor can he testify. V'lo made nor do we testify against him, as discussed back in Masechah Sanhedrin. So in any case, I couldn't be of any help to you, says Mr. King, and therefore I haven't really committed any sin when I turned down, your offer. So according to Rabbi Glili, a Mashiach is pater from oil v'yored, and so is a nasi. Rabbi Akiva says a Mashiach is pater, but a nasi is chayiv in all except for shmias hakoil. Amar ula my taima. The Rabbi Glili, why is it according to Rabbi Glili, the nasi and Mashiach are totally exempt from karbonos oil v'yored? Amakra, the pasuk says. This is the pasuk regarding these trigger points: the shmias koil, the bitis v'sayim. V'haya ki yesham la'achas me'ele. If one sins regarding one of these types of offenses, he brings a carbon oil v'yored. We learn from this pasuk Me'achas me'ela means it's one of the package. It's one package. It's all or nothing. Either all of it pertains to you or none of it. Kol she'mischai ba'achas, mischai b'kulan. Anybody who can theoretically be entangled in one of these events, so then, yeah, he's liable to all of them. So if all of them apply to him, fine. But if there's any amongst these events that doesn't apply to him, such as Shmiyas HaKol regarding a Nasi, right? He can't testify. Ein Meschai B'Kulan, he's not open to any of them. He's not susceptible to any of them. Asks the Gemara, who says to look at it like one package? Perhaps split them. Let's interpret the pasuk differently. As long as, anything applies to you, you're liable to that. Ve'ema. Perhaps, let's say, Mischayiv ba'achas man, he can be liable to one of them, even though he's not open to all of them. So we're going to look for another source. Elo taima, rather it's from the other pasuk, the Sanya. So this is a pasuk describing the person bringing the carbon. The Sanya, Hoyer Bibi Yaimer. So Rabbi Yirmiyah would say like this: Nemar le'sigya yadai. We have one pasuk which says, look, if you can't afford an animal, he drops down, he brings a pair of birds. But Nemar, and then it says further, if you can't afford even that, then he'll bring the plain mincha, to indicate that it's all connected. Only a person who can potentially, come to this point where he can't afford the animal or the birds, then the process applies to him. Misha is only an individual who has the potential of becoming, impoverished. Then the karbanos oilav yerd applied to him. Yotza Nasi Mashiach, as opposed to these great leaders, the king, the Kohen Mashiach, they're always wealthy. Shein boin deanius, since they cannot come to poverty, so the whole system doesn't apply to them. Why can't they come to poverty? Nasi, by the king. And Nasi is a king. He violated one of the mitzvahs of Hashem, his Hashem. Why do we stress his Hashem? To indicate that he occupies the highest office. He's the man with the highest, authority. The only authority above him is Hashem. This tells you that we're speaking about the king. Nasi is the king. And the king certainly is, is wealthy, right? Collects his taxes. He runs the country. He's wealthy, so he wouldn't be open to the whole idea of korban olav yered. Likewise, a Mashiach, the Kohen Gadol, is also meant to be wealthy. He's the greatest of his brothers in all respects. He's outstanding in all ways. Shehi Gadol me'echav, he's meant to be greater than his brethren, the fellow Kohanim, Benoi, in his physical, presentation. Bekoyach, physical strength. Bechachma, beauty, strength, chachma, wisdom, ba'oy va'isher, wealth. There you go. Achirim Eirim, some explain. Menayin Shem ein loy, suppose he doesn't have the wealth that's required. How do we make him, how does he qualify? Gadleu Mishal Echav, his brethren should contribute to his wealth and collect money for him and make him wealthy. Tamalema, we learn it from the pasuk HaKohen HaGadol me'echav, he turns Gadol from his brethren. Ash Yitzchak al Reishai, he was anointed. So the Lashon me'echav tells you Gadleu me'echav. He lacks his own resources. Build him up. His brethren should contribute to his financial stability. So the bottom line is, since these individuals don't have the concept of aniyus, hence they're not susceptible to korban olav yered. Continues the Gemara, Boy Minei Ravina. He had a question which he asked from Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So we say that a nasi will not bring a korban olav yered. Suppose he sinned when he was a nasi, so at this point he can't bring the korban. But then he was removed from office due to becoming a metzora. He contracted leprosy, he couldn't serve anymore. Nasi shenistareya, ma'u. What happens now? Is he still exempt from the korban, or will he bring the korban now because he's no longer in office? He's no longer a serving king. Midchadachi, shall we say, he's exempt because while he was a Nasi, he was preempted from bringing the carbon. It's no longer applicable to him, and he can't regenerate the obligation. Or shall we say, it's an exemption. As long as he's serving, fine. But now that he's out of office, he would have to bring the carbon. He responded, of course not. Dilach, do you want to sponsor the carbon? Is he taking it from your resources? Or the Gaza, or from his treasures? From his resources? Certainly from his own. And the fact is, even though he's no longer serving, a wealthy man remains wealthy, and he's still wealthy, and therefore he doesn't have to. Right? You can't bring the carbon oil of Yerid because it doesn't apply, since he has all those resources, and he can't come to impoverishment. Tani, we learn in the Brisa regarding Rabbi Kiva's sheet. Rabbi Kiva Eimer. So up until now, we had Rabbi Yaglili who says a Mashiach, a Nasi, don't have carbon oil of Yerid. Rabbi Kiva said that a Mashiach doesn't, but a Nasi will, except for Shmiyas HaKol, because he can't testify in any case. Okay, so let's discover the sources for Rabbi Kiva's Shita. Tani Rabbi Kiva Omer, Mashiach Pata Mikulan. Mashiach is exempt from all the different aspects of carbon oil of Yerid. Why? Amar Rava, my time with Rabbi Kiva, why? Amar Kro, Zeh carbon iron avana. This carbon describes the Minchas Chavitin, the special mincha, that a Kohen Gadol, Aaron HaKohen, and his descendant, Kohanim Gedolim, will bring on a daily basis. Part of it they bring in the morning, part in the afternoon. Zeh carbon Aaron Avanav, this is meant to be his carbon. This mincha, Zu ba'achayv alay, only this one is obligatory for the Kohen Gadol to bring. He only has one opportunity to bring an obligatory carbon mincha, but nothing else, including carbon oil of Yerid, which has a mincha component to it. He can't bring another carbon mincha as an obligatory carbon. Hence, he's exempt from carbon oil of Yerid, which has a mincha component. Ask the Gemara, okay, so, cancel the mincha component of the oil of Yerid. But there are another two levels there: animal carbon, bird carbon. Be'ema, let's say, sure, the Torah exempts him from the most impoverished, the bottom level. Umaynu, what is that? That's asirus ha'efa of the flour, right? Aval aniyus v'ashiras, but mid-level aniyus for the poor man, the birds, v'ashiras, or the top rung for the wealthy man, the animal carbon. Who says the Torah exempted him from that too? Answers the Gemara, it's one package, all or nothing. And if the bottom level is inapplicable, likewise the rest. You can't suggest to split the levels. The pasuk here is speaking about the bottom level, the mincha. The kohen will now take the mincha, mimachaper, on his sin, asherchat, me'achas me'ela, utilizing one of these options. So we learn that all the options are tied together. Hamaschaper ba'achas, maschaper bekulam. If one can make use of one of the options, any of them, then he can make use of all of them. But if he can't utilize any of these options, i.e., a kohen gadol with the mincha option, it's not applicable, as we explained. Hence, none are applicable. Ein maschaber b'kulan, he can't use any of the options. Oil of Yerid doesn't apply to him. Ela mi'ata. All right, so if that's how you learn the pasuk, that it's all or nothing, what about the pasuk which says, so this is the pasuk which describes different. The previous pasuk described the different options of karbanos, the birds, the animal. Right? Here we're speaking about the different events that trigger the oil of Yerid, three of which were discussed now in Mishnah, right? The Edus issue, the Tumas Migdash Gadashav, the oath, the Shvuas Bitu, and there as well the pasuk uses a lashon la'achas me'ela, one of these, which sounds like it's all depend on each other. If one sins with respect to one of these violations, here too, you're going to say, well, unless all of them apply to you, then none will. Hachanami, we should say here as well, Dechola Mischayiv Ba'achas, Mischayiv Bikulan, only an individual who could potentially falter on any of these, meaning all of them have to be applicable to him, only then is he liable to them. But if there are any of those events that don't apply to him, then he's not susceptible to any of them? That's not the case. Because even Rabbi Kiva, look in the Mishnah, Alama Tanan. So what do we learn in the Mishnah? Rabbi Kiva Aimer, Nasi Chai Bikulan. So regarding a Nasi, he's Chayv for Oil of Yerid, except for one event, Chutz Mishmias Koil, because he can't testify. Apparently, even though he's exempted from one, he's still liable to the other ones. It's not one package. It's not all or nothing. So likewise, when we speak about the different levels of karbanos, different options, animal, birds, or mincha, who says all three have to be applicable to you? So you're right, granted, okay, Gadol cannot bring the mincha, but let him bring the other ones. Answers the Gemara. Abaye v'Rava, they both explain. There's a slight difference in the wording, in the spelling between the two psukim that we've just cited. In the first citing, the pasuk which related to the options, the animal, birds, or mincha, the word was mei achas, from one of them, mashmalei. That's an indication that it's all connected. Either they all apply or none. However, le'achas, which is the word referred to in the next pasuk, describing various events, trigger points, le mashmalei, that doesn't indicate to us that it's one package. What's the difference? La'achas, me'achas, sounds pretty similar. U'ma'ishna, so why is it so that the word me'achas, the mashmalei, that provides that indication? You know why? The kasvi rachman l'basoif. Where did the Torah mention that word? At the very end, regarding the last and final option, the bottom of the rung, the bottom of the ladder, the mincha option. The kasvi rachman l'basoif. Gabai asira sefer regarding the mincha. Remember to tell us. It depends on that. The chol de minchai basira sefer. Only an individual who could potentially be obligated to bring the mincha, such as everybody else except for the kohen gadol, right? Minchai bekulon, yeah. So then he has access to everything. But a kohen gadol does not. These are gedaitach minchai ba'achas, because should you suggest the other option, that as long as anything is possible, the bird or the animal is applicable, then you chayiv to bring. Even though you cannot bring them all, i.e. the mincha. If that would be the case, then the Torah would choose to put this phrase of me'achas me'ela in reference to the other levels, the other options, bedalus, for the mid-level for affordability, the birds. Inami bashiris, alternatively, on the top level, regarding the bird, regarding the animals for the wealthy. Why did the Torah choose to put it all the way on bottom, regarding the mincha, the lowest level, to indicate that that's the trigger point? And therefore, a kohen Mashiach, who can't bring that mincha. Why? Because we had the pasuk that he only brings the daily mincha, he doesn't bring that, any other minchas chayva is not applicable to him, so therefore he's exempt from all options of oil v'yered. But we're going to see later, actually, although he can't bring oil v'yered, but he will still bring his unique korban, the par, which is special and unique for the kohen gadol. But at this point, we're not discussing that aspect yet. We're focusing on the fact that he's exempt from the standard korban oil v'yered. Okay, so in the meantime, we have two shittas. Who brings a korban oil v'yered? A yachid, a regular person? Sure. What does he do to trigger that oil v'yered? Well, we had several examples. We had shmias hakoil, beitis v'sayim, tumas mikdash u'kedashav. Pretty simple. What about the tzibur, the general public, who was misled by the bezdin regarding these types of events? They're pater. What about the kohen Mashiach? What about the nasi? According to Beis Aglili, they're both completely pater, because they can't come to aniyus, doesn't apply to them. According to Rabbi Akiva, the nasi is chayiv except for shmias hakoil, which doesn't apply to him, he can't testify, whereas a kohen Mashiach is pater from oil v'yered completely. And we're going to see soon, he still brings his par, but not the standard carbon oil yard. Continues the Mishnah, pretty much on this topic. Kol mitzvahs. Now we're going to have sort of a roundup of all the different types of situations and trigger points and various karbanes pertaining to various individuals and situations that we have learned up until this point. Kol mitzvahs regarding all other mitzvahs. Averis. Mitzvahs here means violation of mitzvahs, means averis, which are pretty much on the highest level in terms of severity. Which trigger a kares punishment if done by mezid, and likewise a chatas if done by shaykik. So that's your standard chatas. Who brings, and what do they bring? Hayachad, the regular ordinary person, brings a regular ordinary chatas, a fixed chatas, maybe kispa or asira, kispa asira. Vanasi, a king. In terms of those violations, he brings his unique carbon, which is a sa'ir, a he-goat. Mashiach, the leader, the Kohen Gadol. Bezdin that misled the public. They bring their unique carbon as well, Mavin Par. So that's regarding standard serious averas. What about regarding violations of Avodah Zarah? It switches a bit. Let's go through the list again. So here we have a similarity between a Yachid, Hayachid, V'Hanosi, V'Mashiach. In this case, they all bring the same type of carbon of being Seira Ishigot. What about the public, misled by the Bezdin with respect to Avodah Zarah? Ubezdin, Par V'Soir. In addition to the Par, it's also a Soir. Why? Par is Lo'ila, V'Soir L'chatas. Next type of carbon. What about an Asham Tali? If one should encounter a doubtful situation regarding whether or not he committed a severe Avera which has Kares potential. So that's the Asham Tali. Who brings that? Certainly a Yachid, right? A regular person. Hayachid, V'Hanasi, even a king. Chayavin bring that. As opposed to Umashiach, Ubezdin, who are Pturin from Asham Tali. What about Averos which carry an Asham Vadai type of carbon? Asham Vadai. Hayachid, V'Hanasi, V'Mashiach Chayavin, Ubezdin are Pturin. Finally, situations which trigger Olav Yered. For instance, Al Shmiyas HaKoil, he turned down the offer to testify with an oath. Valbitas Vasaim, he violated a plain oath. Valtumas Midrash Kedashav, he encountered the Migdash with Tumah or Karbanis with Tumah. These trigger Olav Yered. So certainly the Bezdin are Beturin, which means the public doesn't bring a par. Vayachad, a regular person, surely does. What about Vanasi Vamashiach? So here comes yet a third Shita, which is Shitas Rabbi Shimon. He holds that a Nasi Vamashiach, sure, they bring an Olav Yered. A Mashiach cannot bring the Mencha, like we said before, because that's only, that's the once a day carbon. He doesn't bring it otherwise. But in general, he brings a carbon Olav Yered. The other options available to him, the birds, right, the animal, and likewise a Nasi. Vayachid, Vanasi, Vamashiach Chayavin. But we have some exceptions. According to Reb Shimon, it can gadol, although he brings a Olav Yered, but not regarding the Tumas Mikdash Ukdash violation. If he violates anything relating to the Beis Hamikdash, Betuma, etc., which is exempted from a pasuk in the Gemara coming up. So that's an exception. Divrei Reb Shimon, and of course the king regarding the testifying, which is not applicable to him. Umayim Navin, what do they bring? Carbon Olav Yered. Okay, they bring carbon Olav Yered. I agree that a Nasi needs to bring a carbon for these violations, but he'll stick to his unique carbon. A Nasi may be soir. Even in this case, where everybody brings Olav Yered, he brings a soir, the he-goat. So the type of carbon doesn't change from his regular Chiyiv carbon. So again, according to Reb Shimon, Olav Yered applies to a Nasi and a Mashiach, except by a Nasi, he's not Chayiv for Shmiyas HaKoil. A Mashiach is not Chayiv for Tumas Mikdash HaKadoshav. And when we say Chayiv, he has the options of the animals and the birds, but not the Karban Mincha. Tanya, we have a Braisa, which again summarizes the halachas. Reb Shimon Hayonais and Klal. Reb Shimon would present a Klal to formulate the various liabilities. Kol Shah Yachid Basham Tali, a situation which for an ordinary person would trigger an Asham Tali, a doubtful encounter. Hanasi Kiyitzibay, Hanasi has to bring Asham Tali as well. But Mashiach and Ubezdin are Pturin from Asham Tali, which we learned the other day. Because Shubasham Vadai, an Avera would trigger an Asham Vadai, Nasi, Mashiach Kayetza Ben, they also bring an Asham Vadai, Ubezn, the Tzibur, are Patur. What about Olav Yered encounters? Like Shmias HaKoil, B'tis Vasayim, B'tumas Migdash Gedasha. So in these, Bezn are certainly Paturin. Nasi Mashiach Ar Chayavan, at Rav Shimon's Shita. We have an exception to the rule. Ela she'ena Nasi Chay b'Shmias HaKoil, right? Nasi cannot be Chay for that because he can't testify. And likewise, V'le Mashiach, he's not Chay, B'tumas Migdash Gedasha, as we're going to see in the Gemara coming up. So Kol Shu B'Olav Yered. And again, the Brisa sort of goes back to Olav Yered, which we just discussed a second ago, and the Gemara will dwell on that in a minute. So situations would trigger the fluctuating carbon. Who's chayev? Nasi k'yitzibay. A nasi is chayev. Mashiach ubezn turn, just like the bezn is completely potter, the Mashiach as well. Hold it, we just said otherwise. We just said a Mashiach has to bring Olav Yered. Hogav Akasha, the Brisa, is inherently contradictory. First we say Amrus she'en Mashiach chayev betumas midrash kedashav. There's one exception. Mashiach will not bring Olav Yered regarding, Beis HaMikdash Tumah encounters. That's one exception to the rule. But Tumas Mikdash Kedashav, over there, who the potter is exempt. For whatever reason. But other encounters, other events that trigger Olav Yered, like Shmias HaKoil, Ubitis V'Sayim, certainly even the Mashiach is Chayv. And then we continue, we say just the opposite. Amos Seif, Brisa continues, no. Olav Yered for a Mashiach, a non-starter. A situation which would trigger Olav Yered, Nasi Kayitzibah. Yeah, a Nasi is like, everybody else, brings a carbon Olav Yered. But Mashiach, Ubezn are Paturim. So the Brisa is clearly connecting the Mashiach to the Bezn. Katani Mashiach Ubezn Paturim. Right? What does that mean? Ma Bezn Paturim Mikulim, just like a Bezn, is totally exempt from any Olav Yered of Mashiach Patur Mikulim. Likewise, Mashiach is Patur from any Olav Yered, which is a direct contradiction to our earlier statement that a Mashiach is Chayiv. Kashna Dadi. These two statements seemingly contradict each other. Amar Afuna Breda Risho. Let me explain to you. Of course, a Mashiach brings an Olav Yered. But what type of Olav Yered? There are three options: animal, birds, or mincha. He can't bring the mincha. That's what the Brisa means. Because as we said before, Mashiach, Kohen Gadol, brings his daily mincha, and that's it. Like Kasha, the answer is like this. Kam bedalus. When the Brisa says Mashiach brings, it's the top or middle, the dalus option, the birds option. Kam bedali dalus. But for the most impoverished option, that he's exempt from. Okay, so that's what the Brisa means. He's pater from the last option. Why? Reb Shimon, who's the author of this Brisa, so like Rabbi Akiva, on the one hand, Bechada, on one hand he holds like Rabbi Akiva, who earlier told us that a Kohen Gadol has only one opportunity to bring a minchas choiva, once a day. It's called minchas chavitin, but otherwise not. So in that respect, he adopts Rabbi Akiva's shita. So therefore the Mashiach is exempt from the bottom option. Upolaglei Bechada, on the other hand, he disagrees with Rabbi Akiva. He holds that conceptually, a Kohen Gadol brings a Olav Yered. Whatever option is available for him, he brings. Savlik Rabbi Akiva b'dalei dalos, the potter. On the one hand, he agrees with Rabbi Akiva that the most impoverished option, which means to say the mincha, that he's exempt from, upolaglei b'chada. He disagrees with Rabbi Akiva regarding the other options. And those he's chayiv. But even according to Rabbi Shimon, he's still potter from Tumas Migdash Kedashav. The question is why? My time to Rabbi Shimon, why is it that he's potter from Tumas Migdash Kedashav? Because the pasuk with respect to Tumas Migdash says like this: so he's severely punished. The pasuk connects him to the rest of the community. He'll be purged from the call from the community. It refers only to a person who typically gets atoned for together with the rest of the community. Misha karbonai shavalakal. Only one whose carbon is typically the same as everybody else. It's only one who is covered by the same carbon as the rest of Klal Yisrael. Yotzaz, as opposed to a Kohen Mashiach, who's on his own track. For instance, on Yom Kippur, right? Kohen Gadol gets his own kapara, his own par. He runs his own track. So he's not referred to in this pasuk. He's not liable. He's not susceptible to tumas midrash kedosh. Yotza says, as opposed to this, the kohen gadol, she'ein karban shav l'kol. He doesn't have the same carbon as everybody else. Imkei nosin nami. If that's the case, so what about the king? He also has his own track. Ein karban shav l'kol. He brings his own carbon. Right? If he sins, if he violates, he gets a soyer, which is different than everybody else. Says the Gemara, no, we're speaking specifically about the kapara of Yom Kippur. What happens on Yom Kippur? The nasi is covered like anybody else. It's only the kohen gadol that requires his own carbon. So he's set aside, he has his own track, and likewise, he's exempted from this pasuk. But kapara of Yom Kippurim, we're speaking about Yom Kippur. Asked the Gemara Kain. Okay, so even on Yom Kippur, Kayhanam Nami lo shava l'kol b'kapara of Yom Kippurim. So why are we just singling out the kohen gadol? All the Kayhanim have their own special, unique carbon. They have their par. Right? They're covered by the par of the kohen gadol in Yom Kippur. So they should be exempt from tumas midrash kedosh in general. Says the Gemara, no, the Kayhanim are still, they still have much in common with the rest of our nation. Kayhanim shava l'kol b'shar mitzvahs shana kula. So regarding the other mitzvahs throughout the year, right? If the public sin through being misled by the bezdin, right? The kehanim don't have their own track. The par helam davar, which applies to everybody, covers them as well. So they're not so unique in a way; they're not so different. In which case, they are covered by this pasuk as well, and they're liable to tumas midrash kedosh. Well, says the one Mashiach nami hashava b'shar mitzvahs deshana. So even the kohen Mashiach is true. Let's say he issued his own ruling for himself, and he carried it out. He has to bring his own par. But in some instances, he's covered with the same par as we discussed the other day, right? Let's say his ruling for himself coincided with a ruling issued by the bezdin to the general public, and everybody sinned together at the same time. He's covered by their carbon. So in a way, there's some commonality between himself and the rest of the community. So he's not his own track. So why should he be exempted from this pasuk? I'm a rava. Okay, let me re-explain what's going on. I'm a rava emahachi. We'll say it like this: the only one that's susceptible to tumas midrash kedoshav is if his liability, his carbon liability, is similar to the yichidim, to the rest of the crowd, to the individuals amongst our nation, who's that? Umayniu call the rest of the crowd, meaning an ordinary person who sins. All he needs to do is the act, the chet. And then he brings a carbon. As opposed to a kohen gadol, he'll never bring a carbon by just merely sinning, unless it's preceded by a hirah, by a misunderstanding, a misapplication of the concepts behind that act. So a kohen gadol only brings a carbon if there are two components: hirah, mistaken ruling, carried out in actuality, as opposed to the crowd, the call, who, if they sinned as individuals, you're right, if they sinned as a community, then we need the helam davar as well. The bezdin has to issue that verdict. But suppose we're lacking that aspect. They just go ahead and they do something wrong as individuals. Shigigas masa. The actual physical, act is enough. It suffices to trigger a carbon. Kivsa or seira, right? Kohen gadol doesn't have that option. So he's in a totally different track. He's separate from them. Hence, he's exempted from tumas midrash kedoshav. It's not considered shav l'kol because he runs a different system. Okay, so in summation, a kohen Mashiach, although he's chayev, he'll be yared, but there's one exception: tumas midrash kedoshav. In that case, he's pot. And finally, we have Rabbi Lezer Omer, nasi may be soyer, although a nasi is chayev on oil yared, but what type of carbon? He doesn't bring, the birds. He brings his unique carbon, the soyer, the he-goat, which he typically brings upon violating all those other severe averos which have, curse potential to them. So if done unintentionally, he brings a soyer. Likewise, by these events which trigger oil yared. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, this is unique to one of these instances of Oilav Yered. We had 3 cases in the Mishnah: falsifying an oath, denying the ability to testify, and Tumas Migdash Gedoshev. And only the last event, Tumas Migdash, has kares to it. So if done intentionally, it's kares. B'shogeg, it's Oilav Yered. As opposed to the other 2, which don't have kares. At Malkus, whatever, but no kares. Now, when Rebbe Lezer says a nasi brings a soyer, like the other averos that he would do, that's only because those have kares potential, and likewise, by Tumas Migdash Gedoshev, which has kares potential. So although on the flip side, it doesn't have the regular fixed chatas like a regular avera which has kares, it's Oilav Yered. But nevertheless, there's enough commonality between this case and other averos of kares because of the kares common denominator, in which case he'll stick to a standard korban, which is the soyer. But the other instances, the falsifying of the oath, etc., which have no kares to them at all. So the lack of kares component will not allow a nasi to bring a soyer, which is unique to an event which has kares to it. When Rabbi Lezer says that a nasi brings a soyer, that's unique to the 3rd case of Tumas Migdash. Because it has that kares potential, just like the other severe violations out there. When done intentionally, there's kares, and on the flip side, b'shogeg, there's a chatas kvo, a fixed chatas. So although Tumas Migdash doesn't have the fixed component, it doesn't have that side of the equation, but it has this side of the equation, it has kares to it, hence, a soyer is appropriate. Amar Papa and Am Mistavra. Says Rav Papa, I'll prove this point from the Mishnah itself. You see, Reb Lezer makes a point of saying that a nasi, although he's liable to Oilav Yered, but he doesn't bring the Oilav Yered, he brings a soyer. He's chayiv, but what type of carbon? His old soyer. Why doesn't he mention also about the Kohen Mashiach's liabilities? He's chayiv Oilav Yered. What type of carbon does he bring? He brings his par. He's chayiv, but what type of carbon? His unique par. Why is there no mention of that in the Mishnah? Why did Rebbe Lezer omit any reference to the Kohen Mashiach bringing a par? The answer must be because we're only speaking about a case of Tumas Migdash, and in that, a Mashiach is totally exempt, as we just learned a minute ago. Sure, Mashiach is chayiv his par for Oilav Yered trigger points, but only the other ones, the ones that involve the oath, etc. He doesn't have any chiyuv regarding Tumas Migdash Gedoshev, as we have just discussed in great length. That proves that in fact Rebbe Lezer's focal point is only Tumas Migdash Gedoshev. So again, only there does a nasi bring a soyer because it has that kares side to it. And there's no point in mentioning the Mashiach because he's totally exempt. Because we're Rebbe Lezer speaking about all these 3 cases of Tumas of Korban Oilav Yered, falsifying the oath, etc. And he should have mentioned that the Mashiach brings a par as well. So again, the omission of the Mashiach indicates the subject matter that we're speaking about Tumas Migdash Gedoshev, where the Mashiach is totally potter. So there's no point of referencing him. It's not relevant to him. And there do we say a nasi brings a soyer. And what's unique about Tumas Migdash? Because it has the kares side to it. Amar Papa and Am Mistavra. This can be derived from the Mishnah itself. The Saitach Tzagadaitach. Rebbe Lezer al Kulan Kam, because in fact Rebbe Lezer is referring to all these instances of Oilav Yered, and in all those, a nasi brings a soyer, despite the lack of the kares component. That would trigger a question. Why is he not mentioning anything about the par for the Mashiach in those cases? Mirte, let's think for a second. The soyer who brings a nasi, the soyer that the nasi brings, upar that the Mashiach brings, right? These are pretty much substitutes for the regular korban that an ordinary person would bring. Instead of a yachad bringing his chatas, they bring their unique korbanos. So just as we mentioned the soyer for the nasi, we should mention the par for the Mashiach. Nisni nami Mashiach may be par. We should also mention the Mashiach brings a par. B'shmias koil, b'tis v'sayim. Why is he omitting that? Ella, rather, the reason is, like Tani Mashiach, his omission of the Mashiach, Shemana tells us something about what he's talking about. He's talking about something which Mashiach is totally exempt from. Atumas Migdash Ugdash of Koi. He's going on that instance. There he says the nasi brings a soyer because of the kares point, right? Which happens not to be relevant to the Mashiach. The Mashiach is pater for Tumas Migdash Gedoshev. So that proves our point. Again, Rabbi Lezer concludes by saying a nasi brings a sur. Says Rabbi Yochanan, that's only by tumas mikdash u'kedusha because it has the kara side to it. But regarding the other events that trigger oil v'yered, the nasi just brings a regular oil v'yered. And that's proven from the omission of the Mashiach. The reason for that omission is because tumas mikdash u'kedusha doesn't relate to him. Amalei Rav Huna, Breder Rav Nosson, he asked the Rav Papa, how can you prove anything from the Mishnah? Who says? Dilma, perhaps Rabbi Lezer Kulan Kai. Rabbi Lezer's statement that a king brings a sar goes on all the trigger points of Oil V'Yered, the false oath, etc. The reason for omitting the Mashiach is because he holds that the Mashiach is completely exempt from Oil V'Yered. U'Mashiach Saval Karakiv Kuzar V'Kiva. The Amaru says Mashiach Pata Mikulan. The Mashiach never brings Oil V'Yered, Pata Mikulan. So perhaps that's the reason for omitting him. Normally he says no. For Rabbi Kiva mi patal mi par. True, Rabbi Kiva says he doesn't bring Oil V'Yered because he can't bring the menchas, he can't bring all the options, but he still brings his unique carbon, the par, for Oil V'Yered trigger events. So back to the question: why did Rabbi Lezer omit any mention of the Mashiach bringing a par for Oil V'Yered trigger points? The answer is because he was specifically referring to the Tumas Mikdash U'Kedusha event, which doesn't apply to the Mashiach. And in fact, only there did he say, a nasi brings a sar, which is his standard carbon, for violating averos which have curse potential. Likewise, Tumas Mikdash U'Kedusha, which has a curse potential. Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, although Rabbi Lezer sort of regarded Tumas Mikdash as your standard, serious violation because of the curse potential, Moed Rabbi Lezer, maybe Asham Taloi, there's no Asham Taloi. If a person encountered a doubtful encounter regarding Tumas Mikdash U'Kedusha. You know why? Because although Tumas Mikdash has a curse potential if done intentionally, but on the flip side, if done unintentionally, there's Oil V'Yered, which is not the fixed type of carbon. And Asham Taloi is specific to a fixed situation, an encounter which has a fixed chatas potential to it. Tana committed Rav Sheshes, but there was a chacham that presented Rav Sheshes a brisa which indicated otherwise. Asham Tali, in fact, comes, but is applicable even on Tumas Mikdash U'Kedusha. Amar Lais, he responded, Amar Lai, the Amar Lach, the one who authored this brisa, Mani, whose opinion is he adopting? Rabbi Lezer? He's going to Rabbi Lezer, and he's assuming it's going to Rabbi Lezer. Tumas Mikdash, due to its curse potential, is treated like any other serious violation which has Asham Tali. The Amar who says, Hoyel v'namar by karis. Since the Tumas Mikdash has a karis potential just like any other serious, severe karis / fixed chatas violation, therefore maisi sir, nasi sirly, that's why the sir brings a nasi on that. So in certain respects we regard like irregular fixed avera. And that's only regarding this point, not regarding Asham Tali, which requires an actual fixed chatas scenario. Rabbi Yochanan already elaborated on, and this was accepted by the yeshiva. Moed Rabbi Lezer would agree, she'ein maybe Asham Tali, there's no Asham Tali. Kasha, in fact, this is going to be a kasha on your statement. And he totally disagreed with this suggestion. So just to organize things a bit, let's summarize today's daf. We have the carbon Oil V'Yered discussion. Who brings the Oil V'Yered? So a regular yachid certainly brings it. The tzibur would not bring it. What about a nasi and a Mashiach? We have three shittas. Going to Rabbi Lili, nasi no, Mashiach no, and the reason is because they can't come to the the point of anius. Going to Rabbi Kiva, a nasi will bring the Oil V'Yered except for shmias koil, which doesn't pertain to him because he can't testify in any case. Regarding the Mashiach, he's pata from the standard Oil V'Yered, but he'll still bring his par. According to Reb Shimon, the nasi and the Mashiach will bring the carbon Oil V'Yered, except that a nasi will be pata from shmias koil, because again he can't offer any help on that in that regard. He can't testify, right? And the Mashiach will be pater from Tumas Mikdash U'Kedusha. That's from the pasuk, right? He has his own track. And regarding what type of carbon Oil V'Yered, he'll be chayev, he can be chayev to bring the top two options, the animal or the birds, but not dali dalas, the lowest level, which is the mincha. That's specific to his daily mincha, that cannot be brought in any other context, so he's potter from the mincha, but otherwise, he could potentially bring a carbon oil of Yerid. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.